Hey, I'm David, and welcome to Road to Recover. This is the channel where I get to share with you all of the tips, tricks, tools, and life hacks that have helped me get sober and stay sober for the past 5,946 days. Now, is it possible to get sober without going to rehab? In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 secrets that helped me get sober without ever going to rehab. And I'm telling you right now that my secret number 3 is really going to piss you off. But if you are serious about getting sober and staying sober, you're going to have to do it. Now, full disclaimer, the purpose of this video is not to discourage you or anyone from going to rehab. Rehab has helped millions of people get sober. And I know that my journey is very unique, but I hope that by sharing my experience with you, that it can help you if you're somebody who's trying to get sober. Now, secret number 1. If you want to get sober and you're serious, you have to change the way that you think. Now, I know that's much easier said than done, but the most powerful tool that we have to get sober is our mind. And if I had to attribute one thing to me getting sober and staying sober, it's this: changing the way that you think. And so in my journey, I actually stumbled upon this. It wasn't really something that I was trying to be intentional about, but this is really where faith became the central part of my recovery. All right. And so leading up to the time that I got sober, out of nowhere, I have this desire to know who God is. And so as a young boy, I actually grew up in the church. My dad was a pastor. My mom ran the kids ministry. We were at church multiple times a week. And this actually became more of just a ritual, something that I was used to being around, but it didn't mean anything to me. All right. And so around the time that I turned 13, that's when I started drinking and smoking, and I stopped going to church. I always knew that God was there, but I got really good at tuning him out so that I didn't feel bad about my life and the choices that I was making. Now, if we fast forward to a few months before I turned 22, this is the peak of my addiction. I had been doing ecstasy almost every day for 11 months straight. I wasn't partying anymore. I was doing drugs by myself, alone in my room. The hunger to know who God was continued to get stronger. And so I did the only thing that I knew to do, and that was I went back to the church that I had grown up in. And after one of the first services, the pastor was challenging the church to read through the whole Bible in 90 days. And they had a special copy that was broken down day by day so that you knew how many pages you needed to read through every single day. And so I decided to take the challenge. And I had no idea what that was going to do to my mind and to my heart. And before this, I had no idea really what the Bible was. I mean, I knew that there were verses in there that I had learned as a kid, but I had no clue how any of it made sense. And so starting from the beginning of the Bible and reading through it like a book, I learned that it was this beautiful story of how the God of the universe loved us and wanted for us to know him. And as I read more and more of the Bible, I noticed that it was starting to change who I wanted to be. I started to desire to be a different type of person, someone who was trustworthy and someone who thought before they spoke, and most importantly, someone who was sober. Reading through the whole Bible changed everything about who I was and who I wanted to be. And I can't guarantee that you'll have this same experience, but I would hands down encourage you to give it a shot. I mean, what do you have to lose? I believe that you have everything to gain. And so I'll post a link in the notes. There's actually a special copy that was really helpful for me that broke down every day's reading so that you could keep track of your reading and where you were. But if you're serious and you want to get sober, you have to change the way you think. And by yourself, we don't have the tools to do that. And so reading through the whole entire Bible like that changed everything. And it was a game changer for me. All right, secret number 2, you have to replace your unhealthy addiction with a healthy one. Now, I believe that addiction is genetic, which means as an addict, we will always be addicted to something. It's how we're wired, and I don't believe that you can just get addiction to go away. And so I can't stress enough how incredibly important it is to replace your unhealthy addiction with a healthy one. Now, for me, right after the time that I made the decision to get sober, I knew that I needed to start taking care of my body because I had destroyed it by drinking and doing all of the drugs that I had been doing. And so this is where food and fitness became a huge part of my sobriety. And so my sister's fiance at the time, who was also a recovering addict, gifted me a gym membership that also included some personal training. I mean, this was a huge blessing because I didn't have a lot of money. And honestly, I had no clue what to do in the gym or what type of food that I should be eating. And very quickly, I became addicted to going to the gym and how I felt after working out. I mean, at the time, I didn't know or understand why I liked working out so much. I mean, I knew that drugs could make me feel good, but I had no idea that exercise could do the same thing. I mean, when you exercise, it releases dopamine and serotonin, which make you feel happy. And it also helps you get rid of the chemicals that make you feel stressed and anxious. And I also very quickly became obsessed with the food that I was eating. I mean, prior to this, I never thought about whether the food that I was eating was good for me or not. I mean, the only thing that I cared about was if it tasted good. And I quickly realized how amazing our body can feel when we're giving it the right food for fuel. And on top of that, how eating the right food affects our mood and our emotions. And so I quickly became addicted to how good that I felt after exercising and eating really clean food. And so if you want to get sober and you are serious about getting sober, you have to replace your unhealthy addiction with exercise and eating really clean food. It's an absolute must. All right, now here it is. Secret number 3. You have to cut out anyone in your life who will let you use. All right, now I know that this sounds really harsh, but when you finally want more for your life, the last thing that you need is people around you that don't want the same thing for you. And in the early stages of your sobriety, you have to understand that you are not strong enough to withstand constant temptation. And so I firsthand know how difficult this is because I was there too. I mean, the people that I was using with had become like family. And I valued them more than my actual family. I mean, I really loved and cared for these people. But the problem was that if I wanted to use, I could convince them to use with me. And what we had in common were the things that were dragging me down. And so at the time, I didn't know how vital and how important it was to cut and remove all of these people from my life. But for some reason, I just knew that if I wanted to get sober, I couldn't talk to anyone that I was friends with. And the hard thing for me was I was still living in the house that I had been using in. And so for a couple of months until I had the money to move out, I would come home and I would go straight to my room and I didn't talk to anyone. And this step will feel incredibly lonely. I mean, in the time that I was sober and alone in that room with nothing to numb my mind, I mean, I remember craving people in my life, friends that would want the best for me, that in the moments when I felt weak and that I wanted to use, that they would tell me no, and they would remind me of the person that I wanted to be. And I vividly remember wanting to be this type of friend for other people too. Now, thankfully, the feeling of being alone, it won't last forever, and you will find people that want the best for you. But until you do, you have to cut out everyone in your life who will allow you to use. I don't care who they are. I don't care how much you care about them. If you want to get sober and you want to stay sober, you have to cut them out of your life. Now, those are my 3 secrets to getting sober without going to rehab. I hope that these can encourage you. I want to thank you for watching. Please like the video. Please subscribe. I would love to share more of my journey with you in the future. Thanks for watching.